This winter, ocean sunfish, also known as the Mola Mola, showed up in unusually large numbers in Monterey. I've seen a lot of hate online about these fish. People call them useless, dumb, even the worst animal. But after diving with dozens, probably over 100 at this point, I just don't see them that way. To me, they're beautiful, curious, and sometimes surprisingly interactive. I've had them react to bubbles, to light, to movement. They'll come closer, then drift away again. It feels intentional, not random. Here we're looking at a few juvenile molas. They tend to hang out together, which might help a bit with predators. Their skin is incredibly thick, up to about 3 inches, and they're often covered in parasites. Because of that, they visit cleaning stations where smaller fish, like perch or half-moons, pick them off. Sometimes they even come up to the surface so seabirds can help. But not every mola is into that. This little one clearly isn't. Kind of like a kid who really doesn't want to get brushed. We were also lucky enough to see some bigger individuals, what I like to call mega molas. This is Notch, around 4 feet long, still relatively small, but already starting to get that wrinkled, bumpy look adults have. I named him after the injury on his tail, the clavis. Between that and his darker color, he's pretty easy to recognize. He hung around the breakwater wall for weeks and got very used to divers. Then there's Ghost, a much bigger, pale individual I found hovering about 25 feet below the surface. What really stood out was how effortlessly he stayed there, barely moving, not sinking, not rising. Molas don't have a swim bladder like most fish. Instead, their bodies are filled with this gelatinous tissue, and combined with their thick skin, it makes them almost perfectly neutrally buoyant. So they can just hang there, but they can also dive incredibly deep, down to around 2,000 feet, and come back up without issues. Ghost is missing his pectoral fins, most likely from a sea lion encounter when he was younger. Sea lions will chase juvenile sunfish and sometimes tear at their fins, maybe playing, maybe trying to eat them. It's hard to say. I've seen a lot of injured molas, some still alive but unable to swim properly, just lying on the bottom. It's rough to watch. One small comfort, at least based on current research, is that fish like molas may not experience pain the same way we do. Ghost, though, made it, and at his size, there's not much left in the ocean that will bother him. When I met him, I tried to get a size reference with my hand, and from that I'd estimate he was close to 6 feet long, bigger than me. He was incredibly calm, let me get really close, even touch him. You can see him looking back, clearly aware. That opening behind the head is the gill opening, where he pumps water through to breathe. And when he finally left, he didn't just swim off. He picked up speed and suddenly breached, fully out of the water. I don't know exactly why, but it felt like a defensive reaction. After that dive, I really wanted to find an even bigger one, so I kept going back to the breakwater wall, just hanging there and staring out into the blue. My guess is that they drift in with the currents and kind of collect along the wall, though you do see them in other places too. A lot of dives were quiet, maybe a small mola or a jellyfish. Jellyfish are actually what molas feed on. They're not very nutritious, so molas have to eat a lot of them, which is why they spend time diving deep, just constantly feeding. And then I found him, Lashes. I named him for the pattern around his eyes. It really does look like eyelashes. At first he was a bit shy, saw me and turned away, so I waited about half an hour, just hanging there and occasionally flickering my light. Then he came back. You could tell he was curious but cautious. He circled me a few times, always keeping some distance, never getting as close as Ghost, but definitely checking me out. Then just like that, he was gone. He's the biggest mola I've ever seen, maybe 8 feet, hard to say exactly underwater, but huge. What's interesting is that despite how ancient they look, molas are actually evolutionarily pretty young compared to sharks and even many other bony fish. That strange body shape isn't primitive, it's the opposite, a highly specialized stripped-down design that works really well for their lifestyle. And clearly it works, since they're found all over the world. Their reproduction is wild too. They're broadcast spawners, releasing eggs and sperm into the water, and females can produce millions of eggs, some of the highest numbers of any vertebrate, a classic quantity over quality strategy. And you can't tell males from females just by looking. So Notch, Ghost, Lashes, any of them could be either. They start out tiny, just a few millimeters, and grow into these massive animals, sometimes over 2 tons. At their peak they can gain a pound or 2 a day. They never really stop growing, it just slows down over time. That's been my experience diving with them. After finding Lashes, I went back a few more times, saw plenty of smaller molas, and one more really big one. Fall into winter is usually the best time to see them, but this past season was something else. I really hope they come back next year.